Good evening, Freilich Purim. Again, we're learning as a schus before Shlema, Filana Chavev Aserach. We are starting on Daf Nun Amid Aleph, about 4 lines down by the 2 dots. So back to our Mishnah, right? We'd finally gotten to see a new Mishnah on the previous Amid. So we said, "Hatmida name Akmanis Musav le Musav Makmanis Tzidin le Musav Makmanis Esam le Krivu Keves Baboiker Yakrivu Ben Harbayim." We said if you are not makriv the keves of the tamid ben harbayim, in the morning you do it at night. Rav Shimon Amos you anusam oishegin. Avol hayemezidin lo yikrivu keves habaykel yakrivu ben harbayim. If it was on purpose, then the chachamim, as we'll see, the chachamim is sakin. You can't bring the second tamid if you missed the first one on purpose. The Mishnah continues. And this is I'm reading the Mishnah because we're going to have to see a little bit in the context of the Gemara, the flow of the Mishnah. The Mishnah moved from the Tmidim, the Tamid, that you bring twice a day, to the K'tairis, which is also twice a day. You bring half of the K'tairis in the morning, like 2 K'tairis v'abayik, 2 ben arbayim. Rav Shimon says, you could be makta ben abayim. He says kula ha'isakrev ben abayim. Rashi says that means she'ein mechankeres mizbeach hazav el b'ktaris hasamin, because the chinuch of the mizbeach hazav was with the ktaris hasamin, and that was by the evening. So therefore, you can do the whole thing and in the evening. B'loy mizbeach ha'oila el b'tamid shel shachar. They were mechanech. They inaugurated the Mizbeach Ha'ila, the outside Mizbeach, when they brought the first Tamid Shel Shachar, V'leis HaShulchan, V'lechem HaParim, B'Shabbos, and they mechanech the Shulchan with the Lechem Parim on Shabbos, V'leis HaMneir, B'Shiva Neirusei Ben Abai. Okay, so now we are in the Gemara. Lo yikrivu keves b'boiker. So we said that you should bring it at night. Amar Rav Shimon kul ha'isakrev ben abayim she'em mechanech Mizbeach Hazav al b'Kteres Hasam. Chinuch man dekar shmei. The Gemara is asking, where do we get into this discussion of chinuch? Now, according to Rashi, there was a good reason why we discussed chinuch, because the chinuch we said was in the afternoon, and that was the explanation for Rav Shimon. But he's saying, so according to Rashi, we have to be asking, the Gemara is asking, why did we continue saying about the chinuch of other things? Once we said about the K'tairis, where it was relevant, why did the Mishnah continue talking about the chinuch of other kalim in the Mishkan? There was a missing part of the Mishnah. Before we got to K'tairis, there was already a mention of chinuch earlier. The Mishnah had said, according to the Tanakama, if you were not marked of the keves in the morning, the Talmud, you couldn't bring it in the evening. The Medva Mamurim, when was that talking about? That's talking about where the Mizbeach was not mechunach yet. Meaning, if you had not, if this was on the day of the bringing of the, where they were mechanech the Beis Hamikdash, then you can't be mechanech the Beis the K'tairis we said you're mechanech at night, but the Mizbeach Ha'ila, you're mechanech in the morning, and you were not able to be mechanech at night. So therefore you didn't have the option of, if you missed, if the Mizbeach was first mechanech in the afternoon, of bringing the Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim after the chinuch of the Mizbeach, because that can't be the first thing that you bring. You have to first be mechanech the Mizbeach with a Tamid Shel Shachar. But if it was Mizbeach was already mechunach, then you could bring it bein harbayim. Rav Shimon said, Rav Shimon says another qualification. This is all that we could do it bein harbayim if it was nischanach ha-mizbeach. That's only if it was honest or shoygig. Bein harbayim. He says also there's a takana that if they were mezidim and they didn't bring the the Talmud in the morning, they can't bring the Talmud at night. Then the Mishnah continues, like Tiru Ktaris Babayker, Tiru Ben Abayim. The Mishnah continues to the discussion of Ktaris Babayker, and then the way Rashi understands it, we continue with the discussion of Chinuch, which is relevant Lagabi Ktaris, because Ktaris, the Chinuch, is in the afternoon, and therefore Shimon says you can bring it even in the afternoon, even if you didn't bring it at night. We don't have the rule like we said by the Talmud. So the Gemara, Minani Mili, where does this come from? So the Gemara is asking where does it come from that you say that you can't bring, you have to be mechanech the mizbeach hachitzon with a Talmud shel shachar. The Tanur, which is what caused us this, that was what was missing from the Mishnah, and that's what we stuck in, and that's how we got into the whole discussion of chinuch. But where do we know that that's the rule? The Tanur Rabban, v'sakavis sheni tasa bein abayim. The second kevis should do bein abayim, sheni bein abayim, v'lo rishon bein abayim. That tells you the second one could be bein abayim, but not the first one. The medvam muroim shalonis chanacham mizbeach, avan schachas beach afilu rishon bein abayim. But if the mizbeach was already mechonach, then in a chanami it's no problem to bring the first one of the day. If you miss the first one, you could bring the first one in the evening. Amar Shimon, and that's what Shimon said. That's he said the gzeira that you can't be mock of it. He disagrees. He says even if they were mezidin, we don't allow them to be makav bein abayim because of a takana. And then with the Mishnah continues, like tiru k'taris b'abayik yak tiru bein abayim. The Mishnah says if they were not makta the k'taris b'abayik, they can be makta bein abayim v'chi kehanim chatu mizbeach batal. In fact, the Gemara, what kind of einish is this? We're making a gzeira that because the kehanim did not bring the carbon, they were doing it b'mezid. Now you're going to say that you don't bring the k'tairis that's supposed to be brought. Who are you punishing? You're punishing everyone else. You're punishing Gans Klal Yisrael. There's a carbon tzibur because the kehanim were negligent or they were avaryanim. You're going to make it that you don't bring a carbon if let another kain go bring it. That's what it means to say when it says you don't bring the k'tairis bein arbayim, if you missed the one in the morning b'mezid, that means the kehanim who were mezidim can't bring the afternoon k'tairis. Avalachem yakrivu. The other some other kain ein chanami can bring it. Zak nemar like tiru k'tairis b'abayka yaktiru bein arbayim the kivin delay shchicha. And the Gemara is now going to ask. So the Gemara is asking, why do we have a takana? According to Rav Shimon, we say if you were b'mezid didn't bring the Talmud shel shachar with geyser, you can't bring the Talmud shel ben abayim. But the gabi, there's no gzeira on the k'tairis. So we don't have that same gzeira that if you do it by b'mezid that it can't be brought at all. So tomorrow. The reason is that the k'tairis is not shchiach. B'chlal, because the kivin lo shchicha uma'atra. First of all, it's not brought as often, and also it's skula to make a person rich. Chaviva lahu. The kehanim akivil b'avalei pashi. So therefore, they're not going to be. It's only the k'tairis. There's the only time you bring k'tairis is on Yom Kippur and the daily twice a day k'tairis. The Talmud is a oila. There's many oilas. Doesn't feel as special. Kahanim, the mezid not bringing the k'tairis when they have it available is unlikely to happen. So therefore, there's no need. We didn't have to make a takana that if they missed in the morning that they can't do it in the afternoon. Only if the kain who actually did it, did it b'mezid didn't bring it, he's going to get punished that he can't do it. But ein chanami, you could still bring the car.
Just a question. This inauguration, that's just when they first time set up the Mizbeach, right?
Right.
When
It's
Shlomo
funny,
Melech
right? We're making a whole halacha based on the day of the chinuch. But he had more than one chinuch, right? It wasn't just of the Mishkan, it was of the in Shiloh, and each new place that it was in Noy V'Givoin, and then the first Beis HaMikdash, the second Beis HaMikdash. There were a number of chinuchim. Each time, I think each time you made a new mizbeach, you had to be mechanech.
Mhm. By Hanukkah also, or that was still the same?
I don't know. Did they destroy the mizbeach in Hanukkah? I don't think so. I think they just made everything tamei. You couldn't make a mizbeach tamei. It's not a kli.
Hmm.
I don't know. L'chayra, yeah, I don't know. That's what's bothering you. Like, why are we making halachas about the chinuch? Whatever happened, happened. But you could have a new chinuch, a geya for the future. Amr of Shimon, v'kulo hisakreva ben ha'abayim. They were all brought. They would bring the entire ketores would be brought at night. She'em mechanchen hazbech hazav ela b'kteres asam shal ben ha'abayim. Because you can't be mechanech the mizbeach hazav only in the with the Keteres Samim of Ben Abayim. That's how you are mechanech. Correct, Gemara. Well, is it true that that's how you mechanech the Keteres Samim? That's how you mechanech the mizbeach hazav, the smaller mizbeach that's in the heichel. V'atanya the Keteres Samim shel shachar. So the Brisa says that it's done. You mechanech with the Keteres Samim of shachar. So Gemara Tanohi. It's a machlekes Tanaim. It's more likely, it's more mistaber the shita of our Mishnah that says that it's Keteres Asamim Shalbein Abayim that you mechanech the mizbech hazav, and not like the one that we just brought in the bride. So the chsiv babayka beitivas haneres yaktirenum. It says legabi the menorah every morning when you clear out the neres, then you should burn it. And if not for the fact that you had already lit it the previous night, how do you have a cleaning out in the morning? So Vaistais the chinuch of the menorah must have had happened in the previous night. This pasuk, Shmois Lamed Zayin, I believe, is right next to the discussion of the chinuch of the menorah. So Rashi, let's see the Rashi. You love the oven miurta hadlaka. Mimai boy l'sak and l'tzafra. Alma chinuch menorah ben abayim. You see that the chinuch of the menorah was ben abayim. V'kiven the menorah nischancha be'erev. K'teres nami tchilas be'erev. D'chsiv b'halais arnes haneris ben habayim yaktireno. That since it describes that it's yaktirena, I guess the Gemara, the Rashi and the Gemara is understanding that that these two things go together. That the haktara goes together. The haktara of the Ketores goes together with the burning of the menorah, of the lights of the menorah. Okay. Zak the Gemara. I just lost my place. So according to the other brisa that disagrees, we learn it after Mizbeach Ha'olah where we do the Tamid. We learn that instead of learning from the menorah, which was inside, so therefore our Mishnah said will learn out the Mizbeach Hazav, which was in the Heichel, from the Neir, which is also in the Heichel. The other Brisa says, no, we'll learn it out since it's both Mizbechas. I'd rather learn out the Mizbeach Hazav from the Mizbeach HaChitzon, which is in the morning. The Mishnah continued, you can't be mechanech the shulchan with anything besides the lechem hapanim that you put on it on Shabbos. Correct the Gemara, the obvious question. What are you telling me that you have to be mechanech the shulchan with the lechem hapanim on Shabbos? What do you do with the shulchan? The only thing the shulchan is used for is the lechem hapanim Shabbos. That's the only thing it's. Correct the Gemara, what it would seem to be indicating that by Chayil, we're excluding that the menorah the shulchan cannot become mechonach. It can't be inaugurated b'Chayil. But you can be mekadesh the lechem on the shulchan during the week. But that's not true. The only time you could be mekadesh lechem on the shulchan is on Shabbos. So he gufa kamashwan. The chinuch v'kiddush the shulchan b'Shabbos hu. And it's telling you both things. We're saying that the chinuch, the mechanech, you inaugurate the shulchan with the bread on Shabbos to tell you that that's the only time that you could be mekadesh bread on the shulchan. Just like it says, you can only do the menorah with the shivan eriseh, which is only at night. And that's obvious that you light the menorah before night. There's no reason to light a menorah by day when it's light outside. So clearly you light it at night. And the Mishnah is coming to tell you that that's the time that you light it. Tan Rabban. Zehu ketarish also yachid al mizbeach hachitzon. This was a ketarish that was brought by a yachid on the mizbeach hachitzon. By Rosh Shah, it was a Rosh Shah. The Bryce is saying normally the ketarish was brought for the tzibur. It wasn't brought by a yachid, and it was brought in the mizbeach hapnimi, the mizbeach hazav. The Bryce is saying there was a time that the ketarish was brought by a yachid and the mizbeach hachitzon, and it was a Rosh Hashanah, a one-time thing. Heicha, where did this happen? Or Papa b'Nisiyim. This is by the Nisiyim again when they were mechanech the Mishkan. There was a one-time ketarish that was brought by the Nisiyim. The Gemara, the Chumash, it's in the Chumash that it says that the Nisiyim brought ketarish during the days of Chinuch, the 12 days that they brought. Zok the Gemara, Ela Yachid al Mizbeach HaChitzon Hu Duloi al Mizbeach HaPnim Makriv. It's mashma from this brisa that you can have a Yachid. There's a Rosh Shah that a Yachid should do a ketarish by the Mizbeach HaChitzon. It's mashma, but a Yachid could do it. But maybe the Mizbeach HaPnimi. V'su al Mizbeach HaChitzon Yachid Hu Duloi Hatzibah Mikrivu. It's mashma that only a Yachid can't bring on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, but the tzibur could bring the ketarish on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. This is not true. Vatanya Yachid Yachid Misnadev Umevi Kiyotze Banedava V'Kaira Ani Ba Moitze Sesecha Tishma V'Sisa Kasha Dibarta. Maybe someone who makes an adava and says, "I want to bring ketarish," it should be brought on the Mizbeach. We'll taka do what he was misnadev, because the Torah says what a person says he should do. Maybe if a person even makes a neder that he's bringing ketarish, he should have to do that. Talmud Loima, Laisalul of ketarish zara. You shouldn't bring on it a ketarish zara. So a ketarish which is coming from a yachid is a ketarish zara, and therefore he can't bring it under any circumstances. Maybe maybe only a yachid is precluded from bringing a nedava of a ketarish, because there's never such a thing as a yachid bringing a ketarish, except for that Hayra Shah of the one time. Avol tzibur yehi mevi shemei, but they never bring a chayva, right? That was the one time that they brought as a nedava. Avol tzibur yehi mevi shemevi chayva ki yotzeba, but the tzibur that the tzibur brings every day, twice a day, maybe they could bring. Tamaloi malei salu, a lashon rabim, that there's not just one ketarish zara. It's not just the ketarish that was brought by a yachid that's considered a zara, but even that's brought by a tzibur there's a lashon rabbin to tell you that that which is brought by the tzibur, bechutz is also not allowed. Yachal yalu al mizbeach hapnimi al yalu mizbeach hachitzon. The Gemara said, maybe we're only saying that the Torah says the Torah says leisalu alav. That's talking about after it describes the avodah of the Ketores, it says you shouldn't bring a Ketores zara. So that was saying that means both from a yachid and a rabbim, but it's talking about mizbech hapnimi. Maybe on the mizbech hachitzon they could bring tamalei me'ashem ha'mishchav es Ketores hasamim lekodesh k'chol atziva asher tzivisicha yasu ein l'chol l'masher amar be'inyan. That tells you should do as kol asher tzivisicha yasu. Tells you only do like I said. Don't do anything on the mizbech hachitzon, which was never described, and therefore tzibur also can't bring bechutz. So in any case, we see from this whole brisa that there's no such thing as bringing anything other than a tzibur bringing by mizbeach hapnimi. So why what does our Mishnah mean? So what does that brisa mean? It said, which is mashma that if it would not have been a yachid, or if it would not have been bachitzin, it would be good. But that's not true. Neither of those things would be good. Whether it's even if it's just bachitzin, even if it's tzibur, or even if it's bepnimi and it's a yachid, it's no good. Not just if it's the tzibur al mizbeach hachitzon, which we never find the Ketores brought the mizbeach hachitzon, and not just if it was a yachid al mizbeach hapnimi, where yachid is never brings a Ketores to loy ashkon alafilu yachid al mizbeach hachitzon ashkon nesim hayra shohisa. The Bryce is coming to tell you, even if it was exactly like a yachid on the mizbeach hachitzon, which we found one time, that was only a hayra shah for the nesim, and it doesn't carry forward at all to the future. Let's see the Mishnah. Chavite Kohen Gadol. The Chavite Kohen Gadol were the minchas that the Kohen Gadol would bring. The pasuk says, "Zeh korban Aaron ubanav asher yakrivu l'Hashem b'yom himashach ha'isai." Every Kohen on the day that he was included, when he got anointed to join the kahuna, when he started his avodah, he'd bring asira sa'efa, soilas mincha, taben machtzisa ba'boker, machtzisa ba'erev. He would bring a half in the morning. He would bring a asira sa'efa, an isaron, half in the morning and half at night. The Kohen Gadol would do this every single day. So this Chavite Kohen Gadol, the one that was brought by the Kohen.
What is Chavite Kohen Gadol?
This was this. I just said the part about that a Kohen would bring it. He would bring this mincha that was which was the sarin of an ephah that he would bring that they would bring on the day that they came. And in addition, the Kohen Gadol was mechayiv to bring it every day of the year. He always brought a Chavite Kohen Gadol. Every day he'd bring half of the mincha in the morning and half of it at night. It was mixed with, it was a mincha with shemen, and it was cooked, and he would bring it each day. So, and this chavitim was taken a saran half in the morning and half at night. So we say loy hayu boyin chatzayin. You couldn't bring half of an isaron. The Kohen Gadol couldn't bring half of isaron and put it into a klisharis to be mekadosh it for the morning, and then bring another half at night. Elam maybe isaron shalom. He'd have to bring an entire isaron to be mekadosh it, but chatzei and split it in half for the morning and night. Makriv mechza babayko mechza ben abai, and he'd be makriv half it in the morning and half at night. Kohen she maybe mechza shachris umeis. A Kohen Gadol that brought half of it. He did everything properly, but then he died. Umini Kohen Acher Tachtov, and then they appointed another Kohen Gadol in his place. Lo yevi chatzi yisar mi beisai. v'chatzi esroinish shel rishon. He couldn't bring. It's not oy. I think it's im chatzi esroinish shel rishon. He can't go ahead and take another chatzi yisara. Now this kohen gadol, this new kohen gadol, can't use the chatzi yisara from the first kohen, and he's not going to be able to bring his own. And he can't. So he can't take that, and he can't use the chatzi yisara from the first kohen gadol, which Gemara is going to explain why. Ella maybe Yisar and Shalem. He has to take an entire Yisar in this new kind of Chetzeyu, and he divides it half Makar Mechza. Half of it he brings as the afternoon Chavitu, Machza Ovid, and half of it gets destroyed. Nimtzu Chetzeyu and Krivim Mishnei Chetzeyu Oivdin. So it turns out you have two that are Nikrav, and two halves. Half from the first Kohen Gadol, the one that was supposed to be in the afternoon, is thrown out, and the half from the second one also has to be thrown out because this Kohen Gadol he separated a holy Saran because of the din that you have to separate a fully Saran for the Chavitin, but he only has need of a half because it's already in the evening. The morning one was brought properly by the first Kohen Gadol. Tan Rabban, Ilu Nema Mincha Machtis, had the Pasuk said a mincha of a half a Yisaran. Then I would say, if it would be described as a mincha of a half an Yisaran, then I would say each one is a separate half Yisaran. Half in the morning, matzisa ba'erev, half of it at night. But it's saying a machtis of the same Yisaran. Machza mishalim hu makriv. He has to be mechza mishalim. He has to take half of a whole. Haketsan maybe Yisaran shalim v'chatzei hu makriv mechza v'oikim mechza bein habayim. Nitma machza shel bein habayim. What happened if he brought the first one and then the one after the night became tamei? Or got lost. Maybe you should bring another chatzi son from his house. Maybe. Okay, so maybe son shalom mibesa v'chatzeyu umakriv mechza mechza oven nimtzu shnei chatzayin krev shnei chatzayin oivnin. So this is a example of the same thing that we said in the Mishnah, where the Kohen Gadol died. The same thing would apply if the half that he had brought became unusable because it became tamei or it got lost. Then we say the same thing that our Mishnah said. Kohen Gadol shehigam mechza shachso meso mina achatachtav yachu yavi chetzi yisrael beisai oy chetzi esroin shel rishon tamalem matzisa b'erev mechza mishalim hu mevi umakriv. Okay, so maybe son shalom v'chetzeu macham mechza eved nimtzu shnei chetzayin evedim v'shnei chetzayin krevim. Tani Tana Kameder of Nachman mechza rishon u mechza sheni to uber tzurasan. When you have, so we were left with two extra halves. So he says, those two extra halves that you have left over, you have to be to uber tzurasan, which means you have to let it get spoiled. The way you do that is by waiting for it to become nicer. So a mincha could be eaten that whole night, but in this case, so you wait till the morning when it's no longer, then it's already puzzle out nicer, and then you bring it out. Zak the Gemara, Amalei Rav Nachman Bishlam Arishan Ichzil Hakrava. Since the first one, the Kohen Gadol had separated an entire Isarin, but he died, and now he can't bring the second half. So that was roy to be eaten. So you have to be over tzurasan in order that it takes off the kedusha from it. It's kadosh kedusha zaguf. Elasheni lamale ibet tzura mikar libet kakasi. The second one, the one that the new Kohen Gadol had set aside, it was never going to be brought as a carbon. It was brought from the beginning to be extra. He says even pigel. The general rule is we say you need iber tzura on something that is kedushas, has a kedushas haguf. It itself is roy, but something that is be'etzem not roy, something that has a chesaron in the thing itself. It's not an outside chesaron. It doesn't need iber tzura. So Zak the Gemara. I lost my place. Rishon after Elosheni Lohud. Tzur Mekar leibin kasi. Amalach mani. I feel pigel ton ibo tzura. Even that he says even pigel, which is something that is l'chayra inherent in the actual mincha itself, that it's no longer able to be brought. So it loses its kedusha. It doesn't have a kedusha like and even so, you need iber tzura, else the kedusha that it has, that it once upon a time had, you have to be ma'aber tzura. Ravashi amafilu tem rabbanan. Given the pagli behu iboy high makar mechsachazu. He says no. It's you can't say that this one was never chazi for akrava. It was chazi lakrava. Just you chose the other one. The kain could have picked either one. So since for that, until he made his decision and he picked this one to be the chavitin of the afternoon, we're going to treat it as if it was chazi, and therefore that's why it needs iber tzura. Okay, we'll stop over here. Afreil Purim.